Hi, KB.
Hello, hi, hello, Mohit. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Now we can carry our conversation here.
Okay.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Sunita, Donita, Avinash, Padamna, Newton, Salil, Gaurav. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our evening session. केबी को पकड़ना बहुत मुश्किल है. पकड़ लिया मैंने.
ऐसा नहीं है. Last time you organized that and I was also down with COVID,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I hope you're okay now.
Yeah, it's been months since I recovered, so.
Okay, fantastic. So we've got, we still have people registering. We have over 150 registrants today, not bad at all. And there are 40 odd already here. So welcome Mahindra ji, welcome Brian. Brian is a friend from Worcester. KB, you must be following him on Twitter, and he runs the Birder store. And tomorrow evening is his webinar. He's going to be talking about all his equipment, how to use scopes, how to use binoculars, what right decisions to take, where you shouldn't burn your money, and all of that. So you could all be attending his webinar tomorrow evening.
Oh, wonderful.
Welcome, Nikhil. Welcome, Sean. Welcome, Amit. Mahesh. Mahesh saw a leopard in Pangot yesterday, and today's news is that somebody has killed Sirao, close by, but those people have been nabbed. Anyway, so these are the things that I keep getting from the hills. And the forest fires are over now, KB, because it's rained. So, things are looking okay. Good friends, ladies and gentlemen, KB is here. I don't have much to say about KB. KB is going to introduce himself. And I will quickly introduce myself. A whole lot of you already know me. And those who are new here, I'm just going to quickly talk about myself. I am Mohit Agarwal. I'm blessed with 4 children, a son and a daughter, and 2 are non-humans. One is a Labrador and one is an escapee African grey. I don't know how he landed up in my house through somebody, and probably has some karmic connection. Professionally, I'm an experiential ecotourism specialist with a deep love for nature. I help people travel to some wonderful places in Asia. I'm on the board of Asian Ecotourism Network, and I've been trained by and certified by GSTC in sustainable tourism. I'm the founder of Asian Adventures, a 27-year-old travel outfit. It is the largest bird watching tour company in India. I'm also the founder of Netty Network, a value email marketing company. Asian Adventures is on a large mission to help Asian elephants with their corridors, free the Himalayas of plastic waste. We also help small wildlife NGOs, and I want to conserve the ancient Himalayan temples. So that's that's the mission of my company. So over to you, KB. Now you have to talk about yourself.
Okay, thank you so much, Mohit, and thank you so much to Asian Adventures. Of course, I've known Mohit for longer than he remembers me, but and I will maybe during the course of the discussion, possibly share the secret where I Mohit first met.
Yes.
And I think so. That's wonderful of you. I seriously, I think I somehow I can't see who all are present on the call, but thank you so much, my friends, for joining from wherever you are. Brian, he just introduced. I think I see that you kind of do like a lot of my recent tweets that I started posting. And of course, my name is Kanwarbir Singh, KB, as everybody calls me. And I'm based out of, Gurgaon presently, but have lived in Delhi for the last about 10 plus years. So I would say that, I don't know why Mohit and team invited me, but I will just try and talk through my life journey. And of course, birding has been a constant passion throughout my adult life, I would say. I was not birding as a child. But through the adult life, it's definitely been a constant companion through everything that I've done. So I'll just try and share my journey. And of course, over the last 10, 12, almost 20 years, I would say now, being associated with Delhi Bird from 2001 onwards, Then I shifted to Bombay, and then of course being a part of the very active Mumbai bird watching community as well. And then of course last about 10 to 12 years now back in Delhi, again, being very active and coordinating the activities. So I'll just talk about these, during the course of the next maybe 30-35 minutes. A lot of people, who are here today, they've joined, they actually started birding, I would say with me. So I've seen their birding journeys as well. And it's actually, sometimes you feel very proud that, I have in my very small way helped create a passionate community of bird watchers wherever I've been. So I think that's something that, sometimes I feel good about it. So I'll just, there's a small about 8 or 10 slides. There are very little bird images or bird pictures over there, just my own life journey. I'll try and, entwine the stories of my own birding during my own journey in life over the last about 35 years or so. And please feel free to ask any questions. Okay, so that's a recent picture. Sunita Reggie is here, so she clicked this picture on my last birding trip before I was struck down with COVID in early March. So I haven't gone birding after this, but I think a lot of people who are in Delhi will recognize the lake at the back, which is the Okla Bird Sanctuary. And right behind us, the lesser fish eagle has been, kind of a playing host for the last about 2 months. I think it's not there anymore. It may have gone back. But it did, kind of energize the Delhi bird watching community for about 2 months while it happened to kind of, remain here. One of the few records, very few, I mean, I've been observing and keeping track of birds now around Delhi for the last 20 years quite closely. So I have not seen, this bird over here too many times. Some stray passing records here and there. So that's about it. So that's me, just a recent picture. And I'll start, my journey from this place. I think in the previous slide, there is a prefix in front of my name. So obviously that identifies me as a naval officer. And retired now for last about 10 years plus. So I did spend over 20 years in the Navy. So some of the things that I did in the Navy centered around birding possibly find a mention here. So bear with me. Okay, so this is INS Shivaji. I think my birding journey started here. And this was in the late 1980s. And coincidentally, just a couple of months back, I happened to, bring out this book or help bring out this book, which obviously is based on my records and my reports of this beautiful area. INS Shivaji, as you would know, is located at Lonavala, Khandala, which is kind of midway between Pune and Mumbai. And it is located right at the edge of the Sahyadri Hills. And of course, it's a huge area of almost 1,500, 2,000 acres with and of course, defense establishment, nobody is permitted from outside. So it's kind of helped retain a lot of surrounding ecosystems in a fairly undisturbed manner. A couple of lakes inside, which provide water supply to the naval establishment. There are more than maybe 5,000 people who live inside. And then of course, there is another lake right at the periphery, which is actually much in the news these days. Because as you would have seen, there are hordes of pictures of a pair of Amur falcon, which decided to winter at the lake bed this year, instead of taking the onward journey ahead to the southern parts of Africa. So that's one rare occurrence. Of course, I have seen Amur falcon at this location maybe about 18 years back as well. And that, of course, that record also finds a mention in this particular book. But I think just a typical habitat, there are about 250 plus species which are kind of mentioned over here with detailed notes around the birds that I've seen. Some of the birds that I've seen, but I think some of the key ones which possibly will interest some of the people who are from that particular area and who have kind of a familiarity with the birds is say broad-tailed grassbird, which is an endemic to the Western Ghats in Sri Lanka and also found in Sri Lanka. I have seen it over here. Then of course I mentioned about Amur falcon, lesser kestrel, ashy minivet, Titler's leaf warbler. Then there is the forktail swift, rusty rumped warbler, which is perhaps, there's no other record of that bird in Maharashtra. So, which again, I have observed at this location during my extended stay. So sometimes what happens is when this was before the times of the internet, one had possibly more time without social media and everything. So when you're stuck over here, you alone sometimes, so you have a lot of time at your hand, and you sometimes, people like us use that opportunity to, watch the birds and take detailed notes. So this book is precisely about that. Yeah, so this is a bit of my naval journey. I think some pictures over here. The one on the left top, that's on board one of the ships. So I did, during my naval career, since I started bird watching over here when I was a cadet at this place in late 1980s. And subsequently, I got commissioned in Indian Navy, and I was posted on various ships, establishments, even in Delhi. So wherever I went, I kind of used the opportunity to, one, establish contact with the local bird watchers, and then, of course, try and familiarize myself with the local bird life. So I think, which in a way means that I spent, longish amount of time in, say, Lonavala, Bombay, Delhi, even in the south, on the eastern side at Visakhapatnam. So at each of these locations, I spent a lot of time kind of watching birds around. So that gives a very nice overview of, how the birds are, how they're distributed. So I think it just comes from the fact that I've lived at these places for extended amount of time and try to, and watched birds at each of these places. So this is just some glimpses of my naval life. I think the one at the bottom right is from my school, which was actually from military school. I mean, I did my schooling in Bangalore, so I'm somewhere there in the center. So which actually, kind of lay the background or lay the foundation for a military career, because that school is a military school. It prepares the boys, the only boys there, a residential boys public school, which prepares the boys for a career in the military. And some of us, most of them end up joining the Army or the Air Force. But my brother and I think the two people on the right hand, that's my brother. So both of us from the same school ended up joining the Navy. And of course, while being posted on various ships, that photo with a couple of other officers, I'm standing on the right side. I think I'm hiding my binoculars behind me, because that's on the bridge top of a ship. And I'm, in the evening before sunset, I was trying to look for all the birds around the place where the ship is anchored. It's close to Ratnagiri somewhere, off Ratnagiri coast here. And that's from INS Virat, where, besides birding, they recognize me for something else as well. So just, okay, yeah. So of course, from late 1980s till about 2010, that's one of my pictures, still in the Navy, now a little senior as a commander, and of course, holding a pied cuckoo in the hand. And at some point of time, I transitioned from military to corporate. So on the right side is my existing or the current LinkedIn profile, wherein I work, in a corporate setup, trying to do, as I was just discussing with Mohit before this, trying to grow the India business for a large multinational. So that's where we are. So, but this picture is, as many of you would know, this picture is from Bombay. So in Bombay, as in many other places, the pied cuckoo does herald the onset of monsoon season. So many a times, they land up in Bombay and they're very exhausted. And then, of course, the crows and the other birds start harassing them. So this is one bird which I picked up. I brought it to my flat and, and then, of course, kept it with me for a couple of days and then released it in the wild. So that's the, okay. So I think naval career of over 20 years, various locations, doing whatever I could for the Navy, but also simultaneously pursuing my hobby. I think that's, I would say, passion. Possibly, sometimes I did spend more time watching birds, sometimes because, completely away from birds and concentrating on focusing on my naval career. But I think that's how the life was. And that's how the life is, I think, for all of us. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, other passion that I had, and of course, this has an interesting connection with Delhi, with Birds of Delhi, is, during the course of the Navy, I did my PG, or came to IIT Delhi for PG. That's, and besides birds. There's a basketball. That's another passion of mine. So I've, kind of, some of the pictures. But more important is during my stay in Delhi when I was here. That was the first time that I started watching birds around Delhi. And I remember, this was in 91, 92. So we had this, I had a Bullet motorcycle, and my friend Jasjeet Man Singh, who used to live at Haus Khas, and her husband had just retired from the army. So she and I would, on many Sundays, she would sit on the motorcycle behind on the motorcycle at the back seat, and both of us, she knew the city and I was new to the city. But I was living very close to her house at IIT Delhi campus. So both of us would go watching birds in Delhi. And that was also the first time that I've, visited many of the birding sites that we still go to, Okhla being one of them. And if I remember correctly, that was the first time that I met Mohit Agarwal as well. I think it was in December 91 or Jan 91. There was also Vivek Menon with you, and a couple of others. You guys were at Okhla, and I was just a rookie birder those days. But I think that was the first time that I saw you guys and met you guys. Jasjeet and I with you, Vivek, and others.
Yeah, so Vivek and I were, loitering around looking for fire nest or something like that, and then you two were also birding there, and that's when we 1991 I think it was.
91, I remember.
Yeah.
So 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Both of us in our early 20s, and just about stepping into the adulthood. Yeah. But yeah, as I said, once you get into the journey of watching birds, I think you stay on, and it becomes an integral part of our lives. So we try and accommodate it the way we can. Of course, I think just go, I think moving away from my personal, career and everything, I think one thing that I've been passionate about all my life is, while I am interested in birds, I've also tried to join the larger community of bird watchers. And this, of course, started with in 2001, when Delhi Bird was formed, when internet became a, kind of a medium of communicating, and also coordination became much easier. So that's when Nikhil Devasar, I think he's on the call today. So he very, very, nicely coordinated the Delhi birding community. We had a very highly active, and the best thing about going in a group, at least in your initial years, is that your learning is much quicker. Like I remember when I started watching bird in late 80s, many of us didn't even have binoculars, or we had very shoddy Russian binoculars, and we tried to put a name to the bird. A bird using the bird books, which had fairly shoddy illustrations as well. But somehow we managed. Possibly we made a few mistakes. We were not so accurate in some of the more difficult birds. But I think for 90% of the names, or 90% of the birds, we managed on our own. But it also meant that you recorded the bird, you came and did a lot of study in your room later on. And sometimes if you had the privilege of other people around you who were also interested, which was very nice. But in my case, that wasn't the story, at least for the first 4 or 5 years till I came to IIT Delhi. That's where I met, I was actually surprised to know that there are other people interested in birds as well. And the only medium that we have, the only way we came to know about other birders was this very nice, I don't have a picture there, I should have, nice publication called Newsletter for Bird Watchers, which was brought out by Sridhar, in Bangalore. So that was a bi-monthly publication. So many of us subscribed to that, and we read through the notes from cover to cover. It was a small little 20 pages kind of a pamphlet. And luckily, they also put the address of the contributor over there. So that's how I got in touch with Jasjeet, because she had put in a note there, and there was an address, and I saw that the address was actually right next to IIT Delhi. So I wrote a small little note to her, and then we kind of started going birding. So it was not so easy. It was not so easy to find people who shared similar passions. I mean, there were possibly, at least for me, being in the services, living in a kind of a cocoon, of people who possibly have different interests. So one thing I found which was very nice, which Nikhil and the Delhi birding community did, was that they quickly, used the communication technology, I would say, of internet, email, and everything to create to actually create a community and galvanize a community of people who are interested in birds. So I think, and all of us learned so much through that. Bill Harvey, I think many of us who are in Delhi would keep hearing his name. I think he was a great mentor. He continued mentoring while he was here for those 4-5 years. And many of us, would consider him as a great. Of course, Mike, joined us a couple of years later. There were, many other people, Trevor, all these guys, so many of them actually expats, living in Delhi. So, and of course, Bikram, and there were many others. So many of us had been birding at various places, but we found an opportunity to kind of consolidate our passion, interest, learn from others, possibly, give our experience and knowledge to other people who are just about joining the field. So that was, I think, the most wonderful years of my birding life. So which also meant that, in 2002, 2003, when I shifted to Bombay, I was in Delhi on a naval transfer at the naval headquarters. So I think late 2002, I got transferred to Bombay on a ship. So when I went there, I kind of started a similar initiative to try and get bird watchers together. So we did start what we called the Mumbai Bird Watchers Club, Mumbai Bird Club, and started planning out on a similar format, weekly or, a few times a month, trips to various birding locations. And of course, the experience was very similar because we were able to kind of enthuse a lot of local people to join us, a lot of new people to pick up the interest, and kind of spread the word. I think spread the word. There was, of course, very, very seasoned birders in Bombay, like Sanjay, Nitin Jamdar, Sanjay Monga, and of course BNH's office itself is located at the Hornbill House. Luckily, the Hornbill House is located right opposite the Lion Gate, and for 3 years my office was at Lion Gate. So during lunchtime, I would typically walk across in my uniform to BNH's library and spend about an hour over there to go through some of the material. So it was actually quite interesting. Yeah. But of course, one thing that I realized was that there is a need in India, and I think there is still a need in India. The need has not been completely fulfilled to have bird watching networks and communities in India. So typically, and it's a very well-established concept internationally. I mean, every city, every county in the UK or every country that we see, we have pan-India local networks, local societies, local trusts, which are coordinating all the bird-related activities. But sadly, in India, I haven't seen not too much of an effort going in that direction. Possibly it's a national trait that we just like to be on our own. We don't like to kind of streamline our efforts and put it in a form. So having had a fair amount of success in Bombay in putting together a community of Mumbai bird watchers, when I came back to Delhi, so around the time Facebook and social media was coming up, so I did try to consolidate something around the Facebook kind of a community, and of course Indian Birds was created. So today I think I'm sure most of you are members, because we now have a kind of a subscription of about 1.75 lakh, 175,000 people, and of course more than 500 posts a day, and every kind of discussion that takes place over here is most wonderful, because there are about few records that have been reported for the first time in India on this particular forum. So putting together this forum, getting all the key I would say in key stakeholders, key birders from across the country to kind of become a stakeholder in the success of this platform by making them admins and moderators, I think has helped to create this community. So I would say that's a fair achievement, because I founded this, and of course steered it through the initial years. But now I think it's got a kind of a spirit of its own, so it'll steam of its own. So and these wonderful community of people that we have in the moderators and the admins from every part of the country, I think they're doing this. So I do feel that this has helped spread the word, because this was also the time when the digital photography was coming into the picture. It was becoming more mainstream, around late 2000s, 2007-8. So this provided a platform again for people to share their photographs. So as I said, almost 500 posts a day. So sometimes I feel that this is actually a better resource than eBird, because if I have to find out, say what are the recent records of, say, Amur falcon in India, and there's a picture of Amur falcon from Lonavala. So if I do a search over there, I actually get the last maybe hundreds of records. Or if I have to put a white-winged wood duck, for example, that's a rare bird, I will actually get maybe 50 records of that bird in the search itself, which actually will give me a fair idea about how the things are. In fact, I did a small little thing, water rail, which is a kind of uncommon or maybe overlooked winter visitor in India. So I said, let me see whether our Indian Birds group, the postings that we have here, match with the distribution pattern that is there in the book. So I did a search and then I tabulated what is here and against what is there in the book. And I found that there was a very large kind of a correlation between the posts that are here with respect to the the distribution map which is there in SCIPS. So that's, I think, my contribution. But more important than that, it's not just an online platform. We have tried to create, at least for Delhi, events to basically do events around mapping the bird life of Delhi, having a more accurate count, possibly bringing more people into the field who are interested, and also publicizing through the mainstream media what more about the rich bird life or the critical habitats that we have over here. So this is just before the COVID shutdown, which put paid to many of our plans. So we were having about 3 events a year, one at the beginning of the winter season, one towards the end of the winter season, and one, of course, a summer bird count, which is also, I felt, was very critical because it provided us a very good understanding of the resident and the breeding birds of the area. So we have had these events being conducted now for last, I think, 6-7 years now. So, and of course, every team fills up the Excel sheets and data, and these side things are also, then carried forward and put into the eBird. But we ourselves have been able to create a fairly good understanding of the bird life that is there. And of course, there's the Big Bird Day as well, which is also organized. So there are 4-5 events. So we've been able to get a fair amount of understanding, about which are the birds, what the pattern is, which are the critical habitats. And sometimes we're able to use the mainstream media to kind of effectively lobby for their protection as well. I think the recent example is Mangar Bunny, where the birders really helped in putting together a good, strong pressure towards pressure group towards its conservation. Aravali Biodiversity Park is another one, where I think the bird watchers and their contributions helped to put a data to enable, say, Anand Gurgaon and the team to basically, preserve the habitat, because the government was interested in bisecting that with a road through the habitat itself. So, and of course, similar Najafgarh and even Yamuna for that matter. So we've been able to kind of achieve some amount of success. I would still say that these are all these are not very systemic way of progressing. Possibly the best way to do it is having societies and trusts and local and national level, which we have deliberated in the past, but I'm afraid possibly it's a lack of leadership, of the right kind that can put the whole structure in place, and that can become actually a very, very nice platform, nice organization that can drive the interests of the bird at a local level, at a provincial level, at a state level, at a regional level, and at the national level. So I do feel that that's essential. And now that we have such a large number of people who are interested, it'll be very difficult for any political government or any executive, for that matter, administrative machinery, to ignore their voice. Okay, so some media, I think these are, they pick up. Okay, I think Mike, I hope he has seen the Western Tragopan. He's leading many of the tours now, and this is, of course, Mike. And of course, unfortunately, that got cancelled. Oh, yeah. Okay, so but if he misses the window of next 3-4 weeks, then of course he'll have to wait till next year, because that's a bird which is more easily observed during the breeding season or when the snow falls and the birds come down. So that's Mike. Of course, as I said, putting together the community, people together, I think that's, I would say, the only contribution that I can say from my side, because, as I said, there are various things. I've been a naval officer. I continue to, work in the corporate sector in a fairly hectic job. with its own pressures and targets, which I was discussing with Mohit before this call. But try to find time to basically connect with birds, both for my own personal benefit and also try and spread the word around to as many people as possible. I think that's what I would say. What any one of us can do. I mean, I don't think I've done anything special or something. I was surprised when Mohit kind of invited me for the talk, but thank you so much, Mohit and team in Asian Adventures. That's about it, I think. Okay, this is Mohit, I think, one of our, again, bird events that I just spoke about. We always round off those events with a lovely dinner and some drinks and everything at the Kota House Mess. So this is a small little booklet that Mohit and Asian Adventures helped us bring out. This was the updated bird list of all the birds seen around Delhi, within our region till 2015, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So, but I think this is the kind of passionate birders that we have here and the bird photographers that we have here. I think there are already half a dozen new additions to this list that have been added. So, but at least this small little booklet brings out the checklist of all the birds seen around Delhi from year 2000 onwards, which itself was a healthy number of some 450 plus. Of course, if we count all the birds that have been seen around Delhi since independence, and of course the records being available in the publications, so then the number is near about 500. I think, I don't know the exact number, but it'll be around 500, which does make Delhi as a very, very rich and a rich place from a bird's perspective, bird diversity perspective. And as somebody used to always say, possibly the highest bird diversity, or one of the top 3 bird diversity in any national capital across the world. So we should be rightfully proud of. But the other thing is, over the last 20 plus, 30 years now that I've been kind of watching birds around Delhi. If I take 91, 92, those ID days, so it's easy to see the pressures under which the habitats are. Obviously, even in the last 10 years, last 20 years, the city and the urban sprawl has really spread in all directions. So, there's a lot of pressure on the bird life. Recently, our friend and veteran birder Sudhir Vyas, he's an ex-diplomat, he brought out the updated kind of compendium annotated checklist of the birds of Delhi, which is a very nice publication, freely available, downloadable from Indian Birds site. Indian Birds, the one which is published by Ashish Pitti in Hyderabad. So that site, which is a very detailed notes on the bird life of Delhi, and a few of us are now kind of supporting him or nudging him to bring it out in the format of a book as well, which we hope to have it possibly before the end of the year. So he's already started working on it. He's kind of given in to our pushes and nudges, and he has started working on to create that book as well. So let's hope it'll be ready, and that'll become like I think a fairly good publication, because one, he has been watching birds around Delhi since his college days in mid-70s till date. So, and Usha Ganguly's book before that came out in 71, 72. So in a way, there's a continuity that he has seen. The perspectives that he brings are invaluable, and we try to capture. Pushing him to capture that in the form of a book. So let's hope to have that book ready before the end of the year, and that'll become like another kind of a reference book for all birders, bird watchers, anybody who's interested for the next 10 years, because it also gives a journey of how the birds have fared. So that's it from my side. I think there's nothing much, but thank you once again, Asian Adventures, Mohit, and everyone over here for your patient hearing. If there are any questions, I don't think there should be any questions. I'm not a technical person, but I'll try and answer to the best of my abilities. Thank you so much, Mohit, once again.
That was brilliant. It was so heartening to know, the kind of journey that you've covered, and then what you've done, unconditionally for the birding community. to have these groups running, it does, you have to put your all your effort into it. It does take a lot of effort. So I think everybody who's been involved with you over a period of time has done a brilliant job to bring. So if you talk about photographers, they've done their bit. And I think, KB, this lockdown has been a fantastic thing for birders as well. Although they haven't gone out, but I'll tell you, more birders have been produced during this lockdown, last year's lockdown, than ever, because birding was never ever on anybody's radar. It's just that people didn't have much to do, and they started to look around, and they started to notice birds, and then they started to call me and say, "What do I do? This bird is around me." So I said, "Well, just pick up a bird book. Just go online and try and locate what this is, or just join a group." So I think this lockdown brought many opportunities for people to sit back, to sort out their photos, to sort out their records. So COVID overall is not such a bad thing. Sometimes you need to sit back and not be out in the field all the time. So I think it was good. But your presentation is fantastic. I want people to ask you questions. If you've got questions, friends, ladies and gentlemen, please type them here, and then KB can reply them to you. So Nonita says, other than Okhla and Sultanpur, Najafgarh, can you mention some other areas around Delhi that you found worth visiting?
No, I think the key habitats around Delhi would obviously be riverine habitats of the Yamuna. I would always say that the center of focus of any bird conservation around Delhi, in Delhi region, has to be the riverine belt of Yamuna, from where it enters to where it ends. And then, of course, on either side, there are wetlands which are obviously important. Dhanori being one, Surajpur wetland being one, and there are possibly others, Haidarpur, Hasanpur being one. Similarly, on this side, Najafgarh drain extending as a Sahibi river system. So I think, again, there are a lot of wetlands, Sultanpur being part of that ecosystem as well. So all those are important habitats. I mean, they've always played a very, very important role to enrich the bird life of Delhi. So if you see the expanse of Najafgarh drain, what we call drain is actually the Najafgarh lake, which is an overflow from the Sahibi river that used to originate from somewhere near Jaipur. So it used to be hundreds of square kilometers, and the kind of, if you read some notes from Hume's Stray Feathers from late 19th century, how the Britishers during the winter season would actually go and camp on the shores of the Najafgarh lake and do the duck shooting, and the kind of reports that are there. So we understand that our region is under a lot of human pressure. It will continue to change very rapidly, but we should try to preserve what we have, and that's the message. Any one of us, I think we should be the messenger of these conservation messages to anybody whom we can think of. That these are very important. And secondly is the Aravali belt. Till recently, not many people were going to the Aravali belt of the Delhi. Over the last 5 to 7 years, all of us have started venturing, and we see the kind of additions that we've been able to make to the diversity of Delhi bird life. Again, we need to preserve those habitats. So, Ronit, not to be specific, but I would say that these habitats are important. Not a specific, obviously specific sites as well where we go watching birds. So I hope you get a gist of what I'm trying to say, that each of them has their own charm. Each of them is important, and try and visit each of them during the season, so that we get a good sense of, overview of how the Delhi bird life is. Yeah.
So, when we were in college, that time there was this gentleman, can't remember his name. So Vivek and I and a few other people would go and camp at Najafgarh in the night, to see what was going on, and we would ride a cycles, which was that time I think 30 or 40 kilometers from east of Kailash, or whatever time it took. But it didn't matter. So many nights we spent there, and the birding was fantastic. So it was more to figure out, who was killing, what sort of people were poaching and things like that. So our interest was there. But friends, now we've got a little farm, which is called One Kangan Hedi. It is right at Balsava, where, next to the BSF camp. So you all can come. It's free. There is no payment to be made. Come and park yourselves there if you want to see birds around Najafgarh. You want to catch Nimbu Pani or do something there, and just drop in anytime. Yeah. So that's one thing that my brother started, because he wants to revive the ancient farming methods that were done along Sahibi, right from Jaipur to Delhi, and he wants to bring the farming techniques back. So that's what he's been trying. I don't know if he'll be successful, but that's what he wants to do. Anyway, so that was good. The other is Prasanna is saying, if someone is new to birding, I recommend to take bird walks with KB for some time. He's patient, wonderful. Yes, that for sure. Budding birders, including me. Okay.
Yeah. And Prasanna, you must bring your passion fruit along with you.
So Paddy is saying, how old is OBS for birding?
How old?
How old meaning? When did we start birding there?
No, I started birding in 91. You know, as I said, I'm sure Mohit has been birding there older than I.
I used to go there. Yeah. I used to go there in the little dongi there with a friend of mine called Mohammed. So Mohammed and I used to row a boat there in 86, 87, for birds. And I used to have a Yashica at that point of time, trying to get some bird photos. But film was very expensive then. So,
but one thing I just want to highlight is that I think whatever we may say, the UP side has obviously done a much better job of protecting the Okhla sanctuary. In 91, 92, we could watch birds on the Delhi side as well. If you remember, there were marshes right next to the Bund Road. Now, the road that goes next to the river, that Abul Fazl enclave and all that, they were really coming up. They were not really built up areas those days. So there were farmlands and marshes over there as well. So had that area been preserved, on either side, we would have had a more buffer zone. Now it's pretty much constructed even on the Noida side also. They've kind of encroached almost till the Band Road. Delhi has already done that. So that's a wasted opportunity. If something could have been done, protection around this could have been accorded sometime in 80s itself when the barrage was constructed. Because the barrage was constructed only in late 70s, early 80s. Yeah.
So there's a great opportunity, KB. You said that we need a structure to this entire thing. So if you and I can talk about it later with all these people who are interested, we could sit and put our brains together, and then all the management techniques and see what sort of structure we can come up with, which can go online and help Delhi region with its habitats and things like that. Yeah. So Aman Singh Sethi is saying, KB introduced me to visiting Sister Kola. There was
Aman, how are you doing? Say hi to your mom. I think we've spoken for a while. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so Shaman is saying, can you suggest some good books on birds of India for novice?
I think So the gold standard, I would say, is the Inskips books. Please do get that. More important, even if one is it represents all the birds, and the representation is in a reader-friendly format. And of course, there are good maps over there, which kind of gives a distribution. So it's much better than what the books that we used to look at in 80s and even earlier. So please get the Inskips and the Grimmett book. I think it's available in the ebook format as well through the Google Book. So, and luckily that one has the bird sounds also captured. So do that. But more important, I would say, anybody who's interested in birds, get the book, read those books, get familiar with. Get the local checklist, maybe download the local checklist from the eBird, see those birds in the bird book, and then, of course, connect with the local birders. And at least for the first 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, go with other people who've been doing this for a while. Your journey will, your learning journey will be much faster. One can do on their own as well. I mean, not to take away or discount that, but, at least in the initial 1 year, 2 years, if you go with other people, you will learn much faster. There are complexities which sometimes cannot really be learned only through reading and observing. There are things that need a little bit. So go out with people. I think go out in groups. Try and create your own groups. I always encourage that if try and take your family members, friends, anybody, try and introduce them to the birds. I think that's something that I've, tried. I've done with a fair amount of success. So everybody who knows me now, say, oh, and this guy's. so they can't walk away from my birding, whatever it is. So, but I recommend bird book and go out with somebody. And there are online resources, as I said, take a picture, click, put your queries on these platforms like the Indian Bird that I just mentioned about, but there are many others as well. So it's much easier these days. It wasn't so easy, I would say, till about 25 years back. Yeah, it's much easy.
So Shivani is Shashi is asking, INS Shivaji is not accessible to general public. Can you suggest places near INS to go for birding?
Yeah. So that area I know very well because I've lived over there for the last, 5-6 years, plus I kept on going. So the recent pictures, if you see, of the Amur falcon and the lesser kestrel have been coming from, the Tata lake bed, which shares the boundary with the INS Shivaji. So, which obviously is accessible because it's not part of the defense establishment. The other is, if you're familiar, Duke's Nose, again, is accessible. You can climb the Duke's Nose. That's the hill feature over there. That's an interesting hill feature over there. Again, that area is very good for watching raptors. There is a resident pair of peregrine falcon, the Shaheen falcon, which is nesting on its on the cliff ledges. Indian vultures used to nest, till about 25 years back over there in large numbers. I've seen two, three dozens together. The South Indian or the local resident species race of the common kestrel, again, you will find it over there. So I have seen the fork-tailed swift that I mentioned in my the INS Shivaji book is also from the Duke's Nose. Then, of course, towards the Khandala, that area is another good area. There are some forested patches over there. Much of the land is under Tata Power, so which means that it can't be built upon. So that has kind of preserved some forest. So you can get some good forest birds over there. Otherwise, towards Bhima Shankar Sanctuary, I think that's not strictly Lonavala, but Bhima Shankar, I'm sure anybody who's familiar from that area, again, a very good place for birding. So these are some of the areas which I can suggest from a birding in that area.
Saurav Datta is asking, is there an opportunity to convert the posting of Indian birding group in the form of tablet data like we have in eBird? Would be very helpful for birders. Most of the photographer birders do not report in eBird, but they have rich database in form of photographs.
Yeah. I don't know. I am not a very technical person. Possibly, there are APIs available which can download the data from the Facebook groups into the format that you want. But I will not be able to answer that. But we will have to request the Facebook platform to provide those APIs to allow us to download that data, which I don't know whether it's possible or not. Maybe somebody who's more technical than I can help us.
Fantastic. Nikhil is asking, is the book available online?
Yeah, I'll send, I've got the ebook. I'll send it to everybody on my group. Nikhil Devasar?
Nikhil John, it says.
Yeah, Nikhil John. Okay. So we are familiar with the names. Okay. So I will just send me a email or something, or a DM me or message or whatever on the Facebook or whatever. I've got the ebook with me. It's a PDF format, so I'll forward it to anybody. It's freely shareable, especially for people who are living in that area. It gives a good understanding of the bird life,
Paddy is asking, where is Basai headed?
Oh, Basai, it was, I think, we enjoyed it as long as it lasted, or, some of it still lasts. But the kind of pressures that are there on the land, and of course, this being a private land, we need to be sometimes possibly realistic about what can be done and what cannot be done, and possibly expend our energies more towards what is possible. Basai, if I was the owner of the land in Basai, would I not sell that 1 acre of land for 5 crore rupees and live off comfortably, or will I care about birds? I think a lot of us will, kind of take a more decision towards ensuring our own financial stability, security, whatever you call it. So possibly, I think we've enjoyed it as long as it lasted. But and it was never a wetland. It was it came into existence with the growth of Gurgaon as a city. Otherwise, it was all a farmland. So
there's muck in it all the time. You have to wade through a lot of muck. To roll up your pants and then go through it.
But Mohit, that came into existence only in early 2000s or maybe late 90s. उससे पहले तो it was all a farmland. It's only when it was a city and we could not handle our sewage water or sewage, it had to be dumped somewhere. You dumped it into Basai land.
That's right.
So it was never a wetland as such. It was people's farmland, and it's 20-25 years now. It's been like that. If I was owner of any farmland there, I would also be cribbing equally. So we should be looking at maybe Najafgarh, which has historically been a wetland.
It's there to last. We should do something about it.
So those are more important battles I feel to fight. But yeah, we've had good birding at Basai. A lot of very, very fond memories. A lot of good birds. So we'll always feel very sad about it. But I think that was, destined, I would say. Yeah.
So friends, come forth and then, say that, this is what we can do together.
Yeah.
And like what Newton is saying, that we should develop concept of sustainable conservation. Of course, absolutely, Newton. I think it's a great idea to put our brains together and then, bring out a structure which works at least for one area, if not for the entire state. At least do it, put your things down. We have some resources. We have some ways and means of creating things. So we could look at that. And management is the biggest issue that can be sorted, with digital inputs very easily today.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that was it. Friends, I just want to also announce that tomorrow is at the same time, 7:30. Brian and I are going to go online. We're going to be talking about birding equipment. Brian runs a very beautiful store in Worcester in the UK where it's called the Birder Store. And he's going to help you decide, take decisions, which are the best scopes to use, what are the pros and cons, which are the best binoculars, what sort of gear you should be carrying, so that you're not wasting your time and money and energy, resources into figuring out, what to buy, what to sell. And what's good in budget and what's good in luxury and all of that. So and Brian himself is a great birder, so you'd love meeting him. Then we've got Sohail Madan, who's going to talk about butterflies of Delhi, and then we've got vulture conservation specialist from Europe. He's going to be online with us as well, and he's going to talk about vulture conservation. So you might be interested in that. Then we've got somebody coming from Angola, talking about birds of Angola. So there'll be many webinars. I'm just posting the link here, and you can go and register yourself for these free webinars. That's what I'm committed to do. I'm committed to bring ecotourism, conservation, birding, wildlife webinars, natural history webinars to all of you. And I also teach a bit of digital marketing. So if you all want to learn that also, that's possible. And I also take people into the Himalayas for some spiritual journeys. So if you all want to join in there, no problem. Yeah. So I've just put the link here. You'll find me on this link. And if anybody has anything else to say, I think all of you should clap for KB for doing such a fantastic job. His life has gone into this, and he will continue to do this, I know.
Thank you so much, Mohit. I finally figured out how to see the list of the attendees, and I see a lot of my friends over here, people I know for many, many years. So thank you so much, and good to see you all here, and look forward to many more such sessions.
Thank you. Thank you, KB. Thank you for being here. Shabba khair. Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.